Welcome to the finale. This video is going to double as the presentation for my class. Hi. So I decided to do something a little bit different. I obviously have a whole cache of videos that I have made talking about specific movies and movie series, people in movies that I feel have been very influential on me. But today, I decided that I'm going to take you through the process of making a movie. I'm not going to tell the story of a movie that already exists, but rather I'm going to make a hypothetical movie and show you what it takes to make a movie. So, with that in mind, let's begin. The first step of the movie is writing the movie. Assuming that this hypothetical movie is going to be somebody's artistic version, they sit down and write a screenplay, often with a counterpart of some sort. Depending on who you are, this can either be the shortest part of the process or the longest part of the process. For example, John Hughes, writer-director of several classic 80s movies, was infamous for how quickly he wrote screenplays, often taking maybe a weekend to write a feature-length screenplay, whereas some people spend years working on their screenplay. However, it usually takes on average anywhere from a month to 2 months to finish a first draft. So let's assume that this particular film that Mr. Koala Bear is working on took him, say, 3 months to write, and that this particular screenplay is on its 4th or 5th draft. Now that the screenplay is finished, it's time to move on to step 2, selling the screenplay. Assuming that you live and operate and whatnot in Hollywood and you're writing movies, you probably want your screenplay to get picked up by a major movie studio. This means that you have to have somebody set up a meeting with the studio executives, and then you have to pitch the script. Odds are they say no, and then you take it to another studio and they say no, and so on and so forth until you're either having your movie published by some bootleg company, you're calling yourself an independent filmmaker, or you go home and cry. For our purposes, let's assume that this script is going to get picked up by a smaller studio, like A24 for instance, who is going to let Mr. Koala Bear direct this movie that he has already written. Now that the script has been picked up, it's time to actually start making the movie, and the process of pre-production begins. Once pre-production starts, approximately 4 months will have passed since the movie started. Everything is planned out. All of the people are hired that will be working on the movie, and the film is storyboarded, which means every single shot will be planned out, how the camera is going to move, how the frame is going to look, etc., etc. Well, I'm going to gloss over a lot of things that need to happen before the movie is even shot. For the sake of time, pre-production is the lengthiest and sometimes the costliest part of making a movie. This stage alone can seem nightmarish and often leads to the highest points of stress a director will face when making the movie. But now that the prep is finished, it's time to move on to principal photography. Often just shorted to principal, this stage is what people most think of when they imagine making a movie. This is the process of actually shooting the movie itself. While seemingly pretty self-explanatory, this process is far more complicated than it seems. The actual concept of shooting the movie is relatively easy, as everything was planned out before everybody got to the set or the location of filming. But this can be the most stressful part of production, as things almost never go according to plan. Actors cannot show up, natural disasters can happen, the studio may want to interfere with the project. Really, any number of things can happen. Next in the process is post-production, often just shortened to post. This is the period that can potentially take the longest depending on the movie, but is typically the least stressful. Post-production is when things like editing, visual effects, and sound design all happen. This usually takes up to about 2 months, but smaller movies with less complex editing and visual effects very rarely take that long. This is also the period when any reshoots are done, if necessary, and when the movie itself finally finished. Much like the screenplay, often several drafts, referred to as cuts of the movie, are made. The movie itself often changes a whole lot throughout the entirety of the filmmaking process, but the post-production period is usually when the movie changes the most. So now that the movie has been made, all is well, and now it is time to relax, right? Not exactly. While the work on the movie itself, as the writer-director, is now done for Mr. Koala, Now all of the producers have to work with the movie studio to get this movie in theaters in as many places as possible to ensure that as many people pay to watch this movie as possible. If the movie makes a lot of money, then other studios might let you, as a writer-director or any filmmaker, make more movies. If not, then you take the money that you got for making that movie and try to make it last for the rest of your life until you find a different job. So, that is the filmmaking process. Clearly no small feat by any stretch of the imagination, and clearly not capable of being done by any one person by themselves. I wanted to do this for my presentation for a couple reasons, but primarily to show that it takes an insane amount of work from a huge number of people to even get a movie to exist, let alone be good. This process is what makes filmmaking so different from all other art mediums. A single person can write a symphony, a single person can write a book, a single person can paint a picture or sculpt a sculpture, but no single human being can make a movie by themselves. And even with all of that collaboration, it still is able to be one person's vision if done correctly. Because of this, and because of how massive the movie market is, there isn't really a person on the planet who does not like movies. Like, there isn't anybody on the planet who does not like the concept of a movie. There are people that don't like mainstream movies, and there are people who lie to themselves and to other people about not liking movies. But movies have a way of connecting with people on a level that really no other art can. It's no secret that Hollywood and movie theaters are dying, which is why I want to implore you to go see a movie on like a weekday afternoon when the movie theater will be totally empty, because those are some of the best times to see movies. There really is no other experience quite like sitting in an empty theater and just enjoying a movie and letting yourself get lost in the world. I also implore you to watch the credits. I'm not saying that you have to read every single name or even remember a single name, but just knowing how many people put their blood, sweat, and tears into that movie, no matter how good it is harrowing. Even bad movies, there are people who work extremely hard to make them as good as they can. Nobody sets out to make a bad movie. Nobody sets out to make an unentertaining movie, but sometimes movies are bad, and that's just part of the process. Regardless if the movie is The Room or if the movie is Citizen Kane, there was still effort and hard work put into that movie, and that took a lot of effort and a lot of passion on the part of the filmmakers. That is why film is my passion, and why I did all of this in the first place. Thank you for watching. It's been a lot of fun.